Hello, and welcome to Cultivate to Thrive podcast. I'm your host, Michelle Gunn. I'm a self actualization and mindset coach at Cultivate and Thrive. And I am on a mission to help Christian professional moms thrive in their reclaimed value while they cultivate a fulfilling and purposeful life. Now, many times on these episodes, you will just hear me sharing some tips and some things, some knowledge to help you improve and move forward. Sometimes I'll have special guests that have something great to share, especially things that I want to share with you to help you in your journey of life. Now, you can find this podcast, whether it's live or on replay, here on my own Michelle Gunn LinkedIn page, Facebook page, Instagram, and TikTok. You can also find my business page, Cultivate and Thrive, on LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, and my website, michellegunn.com. That's right, my website is Michelle Gunn, 1L, 2 N's, michellegunn.com. I invite you to participate in the comment section. I invite you to reach out to me via email, DM. You can find contact information on my website. Let's chat. Hello, welcome. Happy Wednesday. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. And this morning, I'd like to start with, of course, a Bible reading, and my prayers led me to Zechariah chapter 4, verse 6. Then he said to me, "This is the Lord's message to Zerubbabel. Not by any army, nor by might, but by my spirit, says the Lord of hosts." Not by any army, nor by might, but by my spirit, says the Lord of hosts. What is that scripture saying to you today? Well, for me, it just turns me back to my faith and prayers and my conversations with God, asking for the intervention of Jesus and the Holy Spirit to guide me and lead me. So, please go ahead and add any comments as we're going along. If you have questions, add those too. Let me know you're here. Say hello. Let me know where you are joining from. And this morning we have Reagan from Uganda. Welcome, Reagan. Thank you for joining us. Now, I'm seeing comments from LinkedIn. And in past episodes, I've been having trouble seeing comments on LinkedIn. So we'll see. I know there's some connectivity issues because I'm using StreamYard through other social medias. So not all comments show, but I do get to them all. So please do comment, ask questions, and add input and share your wisdom. Absolutely. So today's episode, navigating vulnerability, redefining masculinity. Now, as you know, I've chosen June as my month of men. So my focus this month is on men and the people who support them. It seems in past episodes where I'm geared for focused towards women, I do have men that join in to help support women. So I thought in the US, June hosts Father's Day, so I thought this is a great time to give back to the men of the world. So, why would we even want to redefine masculinity? Well, let's talk about what are the traditional ideas of masculinity? What are the definitions? What's the historical context? What social influences are there? What's the impact on emotional expression and vulnerability? How does it cause men to suppress emotions and causing a greater fear of being vulnerable? And what kind of stigma is around some of these issues? Well, when we look at the traditional definition, traditionally, at least here in the US, masculinity often emphasizes strength, right? Physical strength, a lot of times emotional, mental strength too. Like things don't get to them, they can just push through. Stoicism and self-reliance, that they don't need anyone else, they can handle everything themselves. We see on a lot of American sitcoms of men who are their own handyman and try to fix everything because they're a man and they can do it and they need no help. So that's kind of poked fun at, but I think that's a very much a traditional definition here in the US of what men are, who they are, and who they're supposed to be. Now, historically, men were expected to be the providers and the protectors, leading to societal norms that discourage emotional expression. And this caused issues on both sides for female and male, right? Because along with what our expectations are for men, we have opposite expectations from women usually. And then what happens to a man when he loses his job? If he's expected to be the provider. So he's looking at that as the definition of him. He's looking at that as his value, and now it's taken away. Most times, no fault of his own. We're still in this country going through a lot of layoffs and lost jobs. So, what does that do to a man? Really makes them question their self worth, right? What is their value if they can't do that? And what happens when they can't protect their family? Their house gets broken into and something happens and no one feels safe anymore. And historically, that's been the man's job. Well, men don't want to share those emotions. They don't want to talk about what their weaknesses are or what they're perceived to be. So it really causes men to suppress their emotions deep down, bury them deep, deep down. Men are often taught to hide their feelings, and that encourages them to hide their emotions. You've heard, you may not have heard, but a lot of times when we refer to men, men will compartmentalize things, right? They put things away so they don't have to deal with it anymore. And that causes issues. It causes deep issues, and it will cause mental and physical issues. And then that's a whole nother subject of where men are having a hard time dealing with it because it's seen as a weakness, right? Their fear of appearing weak or vulnerable causes such issues because society tells us that's not who men are supposed to be. So men don't express their vulnerability. They don't express their emotions. And then, of course, there's that stigma surrounding mental health issues. It's still out there. We've come a long ways, but it's still there. Men are less likely to seek help for mental health issues due to the stigma and fear of judgment, right? It's seen as a weakness. I mean, we've seen comedians. Robin Williams, take him, was suffering from depression, and you wouldn't know it by the way he was towards people. He buried it deep, deep down, which caused more darkness, more fear, more sadness. So we want to make sure that this is one of the reasons we do redefine masculinity because we don't want men to suffer like that. When you look at embracing vulnerability, what kind of benefits and importance it has, right? It's got a role in personal growth. It has um, an importance in emotional expression and authenticity for them to really be able to be who they truly are. It helps them build stronger connections and relationships. If men don't share with others and their significant others, how are they supposed to really connect with them? How are they to truly understand them? How are they truly to know them? And of course, there's psychological benefits of vulnerability. There's increased emotional resilience, better stress management, and enhanced self awareness and personal development. So, when we talk about vulnerability, it means being open and honest about our feelings and our experiences, which that's crucial for personal growth. You have to know where you've been, where you are, and where you want to go. And feelings are involved in that. They're wrapped around that. They're entwined in the experiences and make us who we are. Many times, if we go through an experience that is negative or we see as bad or hurtful, we have emotions that go along with that. And if we cannot let those emotions out, they get bottled up and fester, kind of like a volcano where the lava is just getting hotter and hotter and hotter until it explodes. So sharing these emotions also, like I said, foster the authenticity and helps build genuine connections with others. So if a man has a fear, he should be able to share that with people closest to him, especially his partner in life, whoever that may be. They need to understand because, as always, we are not created to be all. We are created to need other people. It's okay to have a fear. Maybe that's a strength of our partner, and our partner can step up then. I know my husband and I have been through mm, quite a bit of experiences in our life, and there's been many times when he has been the strong one. And I have just leaned on him and leaned on him, and I know I can lean on him. He is always there for me. But there was a time when he needed to lean on me. But if we hadn't worked on our relationship and I allowed him to be vulnerable with me, I don't think that would have happened. I think he would have gone very dark. I think it would have been very difficult for him. And even now, let's see, um, this year in October, it'll be 35 years of marriage. Um, we work prob probably almost every day on communication and sharing because, of course, sometimes it's still hard for him. It's a little bit easier for me. Sometimes I overshare. So, but actually working on it helps him become stronger in his vulnerability, and he knows that that's something that will stay between us. I'm there for him and to support him. So men need that support to be vulnerable and to build those genuine connections with others. And as you're building those, you get stronger connections. So that makes life easier. It makes it easier to be able to deal with things, to deal with your emotions when you have these strong relationships that are meaningful and allowing others to see our true selves. So I had mentioned psychological benefits of vulnerability. What do you think those are? Increased emotional resilience. Being open about your feelings builds emotional strength and resilience, right? Just like anything else, the more you do it, the better you get at it. Although you may not ever be perfect because we're not meant to be perfect at anything. But the more you do it, the easier it will be. You have better stress management because you're expressing your emotions. It can help reduce the stress. It's not getting bottled up, bubbling up, growing inside you. And it can prevent that emotional buildup. And you can ask a lot of people. Stress can cause physical ailment. I've personally experienced it, and I know a lot of other people who have experienced it. So you want to make sure that you can be emotionally vulnerable to help reduce that stress. Another benefit is enhanced self-awareness and personal development. Understanding and sharing our feelings promotes self awareness and fosters personal growth because we are aware of how we're reacting to a situation and you can learn and grow from it. Sometimes we do, um, and I think sometimes it's harder for men because they don't speak their emotions as much. But if you get too caught up in it, right, you need to learn how to react a different way. So there's the saying that you can't control how other people react to a situation. You can only control how you react to a situation. So being vulnerable, admitting and realizing your feelings helps you become aware of your behaviors and how you're reacting and sometimes how you're lashing out. Sometimes when feelings get to be too much, we lash out physically. If you're aware of that, you can change that. You can grow from it. So by understanding these traditional definitions of masculinity and embracing this vulnerability, we can foster healthier emotional lives and build stronger, more fulfilling relationships. And I think deep down, that's what every person wants. So, how do you overcome these barriers to vulnerability? Well, you want to identify what some common barriers are for you and then embrace them. Many times it does take someone to help you, to guide you. And there are coaches that you can have, a confidant, somebody that you implicitly trust and look up to at how they handle their life. You can talk to them and get guidance. Like I said, a coach can help walk you through it. Counselor, a therapist, or psychologist can also help you with that. Also, depending on what your needs are and what your fit is, um, we need to really look at the social conditioning we have for men and gender stereotypes, and we need to break those. We need to break those. I know many times we have toys that are specifically for boys and specifically for girls, but that's not how everyone is wired, right? Sometimes we want to play with other stuff, and that's not a bad thing. And I don't want to get into, other identities, so we won't talk about that. But these gender roles, I think, need to be changed so that we're not stereotyping men and women so much. And that will help with these barriers that men are feeling. Again, the fear and the judgment of rejection that men deal with, and the cultural influences. We need to change that. And change starts with you. Every person can make one little change, and it will cause a ripple effect in the world, wherever you want to create change. We need to challenge societal norms and stereotypes, right? So it shouldn't be just men are expected, and I don't think it is as much anymore, to be the main financial supporter of the family, that they do not help out around the house, that they are not main caregivers for their children because they can be. There's a lot of different stereotypes we have, and I know they're slowly getting broken down, but I know there are a lot of men who still deal with it because of the way they were raised. And we need to cultivate self compassion and acceptance. You need to accept yourself for who you are. And like I always say, you cannot accept yourself until you know yourself. And that's truly know yourself, not know the person that other people tell you you should be, because we're all told who to be. We're told by our family, we're told by our friends, we're told by the school, we're told by jobs, we're told by society. So you need to take it upon yourself to truly get to know yourself and then accept it. Accept you for who you are. Accept your strengths. Accept your weaknesses or lack of strengths in certain areas. And know that you don't have to be all to all. And seek support from trusted individuals and communities. Again, a faith community is a great place to look for this kind of support. You want to find someone who has the same values as you do, and look for someone who you admire the way they live their life, their authenticity. Talk to them, start a conversation, see about having them be a personal mentor. We talk about mentors in work, but you don't hear too much personal mentors. Well, again, you're a whole person. You're not one part of a person, you're a whole person. Now, we want to talk about practical steps for redefining masculinity. Again, cultivating self awareness and emotional intelligence, practicing the vulnerability in everyday interactions, seeking help when needed, and prioritizing your mental health. And what is your role of faith and spirituality in fostering this emotional resilience? Finding strength and guidance through your faith and embracing vulnerability as a form of spiritual growth. So when we talk about that a little bit, let's talk about cultivating self-awareness and emotional intelligence. So you can reflect regularly, take time to understand your feelings and reactions. Now, it can't always be in the moment because life happens, work happens. But at the end of the day or later in the day, you can stop and ask yourself, why did I feel that way? Why did I react that way? You need to really have an understanding of what's what may be setting you off, right? So that you can make changes and grow where it's necessary. Practice mindfulness. Engage in activities like meditation to stay present and attuned to your emotions. And again, with mindfulness, it's that mental fitness, so that you can gain control of where your thoughts go to. Um, I know I had a lot of difficulty before I learned how to strengthen my mind, my mental fitness, that my thoughts would control. They would just take over. It would go to the negative. My chatter in my mind, or the little devil that sits on my shoulder, would tell me all the reasons why I would fail and why I should be upset and why I should be angry, why I should be jealous. Well, you need to work on strengthening that mind muscle, and that will help you fight off those feelings, kick them out, kick out those ideas out of your mind, so you can be stronger mentally and have a better vulnerability and really emotional mental well-being. And there are people that can help with that, and of course I am one of them, but there are many. Learn continuously, read books or take courses on emotional intelligence, so you can learn more about where these feelings are come from, what's more appropriate, how to aim certain feelings, and how to grow on these feelings. And then, of course, like I said, practice, practice, practice. Now, the saying's practice makes perfect. We never shoot for perfect. There's no such thing. So, practice makes better. We'll say that. And practice in your everyday interactions. Open up in conversations. Share your true feelings with trusted friends and family. Now, if you're not normally a sharer, if you're not that emotionally vulnerable, start small. Don't make yourself too uncomfortable. Make sure you share with someone that you have a deep trust with, and you know that what you say will stay with that person and that they will listen without condemning you, and they will listen and support you. Start small. Show empathy. Be supportive and understanding of others' emotions. That helps you kind of understand your own. So when you see someone acting out, getting upset, kind of think about where they're coming from. Maybe what's provoked their emotions. Most likely, if they're going overboard, they haven't been taught how to handle their emotions either. So that might be why they are. Or a lot of times they're just having a bad day and that was the last straw because they don't know how to handle the feelings and the emotional. So it just comes out as a big outburst, like a volcano exploding. So having that understanding will help you also grow in how you deal with your emotions and how you recognize them. This is one of my favorites. Admit mistakes. Acknowledge when you're wrong and learn from it. If you have worked in customer service at all, you have to have learned that, first of all, people make mistakes. We all do. We're human. We're not perfect. We make mistakes. But someone who tries to lie, cover it up, blame others gets little respect and usually makes everyone else more angry. But if you own your mistake, I'm sorry, it was totally my fault. Please forgive me and learn from it. People respect that. They're much kinder. I know when I make a mistake, that's always what I try to do, own up to it. People are very forgiving. And when I train new people, I have always trained them to understand that when you're in a new work position, I say you're new for a year because usually there are things that come up that you don't get trained on right away. And to say you're new, people are also more forgiving. So you do need to admit your mistakes, learn from them, and use that as an opportunity to grow. I talked about seeking help when needed, and we need to prioritize your mental health. I'm not sure that men still practice that or are better at practicing that. I haven't looked up research, so I don't know. I know from personal experience that there are many men who do not prioritize mental health. They put their well being aside. So know that therapy is a tool, it's not a weakness. Seek professional help when you're feeling overwhelmed, right? Even if you have a support network, if you're just getting to that point where it seems unbearable, don't wait until you can't handle it anymore. Seek that professional help so that they can help the simmering stop or slow down. Again, build that support network. Surround yourself with people who uplift and support you. And remember, that means you also have to be one of those people for others and for yourself. You should be the first person who cheers you on every day. If you don't know what an amazing person you are, you need to start telling yourself. Think about what makes you amazing. And it's not about what you can do for others, but it's what makes you different, what makes you unique that you have to offer. And as always, I know women are quick to talk about this, but practice self care. That can be mental, physical, spiritual, emotional, right? Engage in activities that promote mental well being, like exercise and hobbies, right? Socialization. No matter what kind of introvert you are, you need people. We are created to be social beings. It just might look different for you than it does for someone else. Some people need a lot of people, some people need a small group, some people need one person, but we do need someone else. When you think about stress relief and engaging in self-care, what does that look like for you? Think about what kinds of things do you enjoy doing? Now, depending on, your circumstances, you may need to incorporate what kind of budget you have. There's lots of free ways to improve your well-being. Exercise, walks in nature is very good for stress management and relaxation. Reading, watching movies, having a conversation, going out to dinner, physically building something, going for a jog. There's many, many ways. What kinds of ways help you and provide self-care for you? Think about it. I'd love to see answers in the comments. We talk about the role of faith and spirituality in fostering emotional resilience because in everything I talk about faith. Faith is part of us, it's intertwined in us. So, how do you find your strength and guidance through faith? Well, just much like anything else, through daily practices. Incorporate prayer or meditation into your routine, read the Bible, attend Bible studies. There's Bible podcasts, there's yeah, scriptural podcasts, all kinds of things that you can do to incorporate your faith practices daily. You can look on a wider, weekly by going to services, going to small groups, like I said, Bible studies, different things, outings with people from your faith community. And make sure that you are involved in your community. And being involved in your faith community, along with your regular community, you can do. But in your faith community, you should be surrounded by people of the same kinds of values, and it'll be much easier to build relationships and friendships and support groups that way. So participate in these faith groups for support or guidance. And again, these groups can be something that provides for you spiritual growth, just social, or they can be groups that provide service to others so that you're getting that um, self care through that activity. Because it's wonderful to receive, but it's even better to give. It's so rewarding to give to someone. Giving of your service, your time, and your talent is huge. This is something that most people lack to give. Most people are quick to give money and not so quick to give time because their time is more valuable. So think about that. And then you can embrace your vulnerability as a form of spiritual growth. So share your journey, be open about your struggles and growth in your faith community. Seek wisdom. Look to spiritual texts like Bibles or books about, stories about saints or stories about other people in the Bible. Or leaders for guidance on embracing vulnerability. Talk to your pastor, your deacon, your brother, whatever it looks like in your faith community, and nuns, and ask them, how are you vulnerable? How do you deal with these emotional stressors? I mean, they have their own stereotypes, but again, reach out, talk to people. So that's kind of my summation for today on embracing vulnerability and redefining masculinity. You can see that we really have a lot more work to do with men and allowing men to be people too and not just men. I appreciate everyone who has joined me on the live and on the replay. If there's something that you like to share, please like and share this episode. Subscribe to my YouTube channel, Cultivate and Thrive. And make sure you join me this Friday as I have a discussion with Chris Rangel live on faith and masculinity, navigating the modern world. I know Chris has a great story, and he's being um, quite the leader on living his faith and still being able to be the man that he is. So do join us for that. I appreciate you all. Have a wonderful rest of your week.